I already have a book set up in my Amazon account, and I'm going to show you how to add a new one. Just want to click on New Title, and it brings up a menu with different options. So now a book has been created for you. So if you go back, you can see that Amazon has already added a new title. We can go to click on Continue Setup. If you have your book title, you can enter it here. Subtitle is optional. Is this book part of a series? You only want to check this off if you plan on making multiple ones. I would just leave this off. This is something that you can edit later on if you decide that you want to make a bunch of these. But for now, you want to, I would say for just making one book, you want to leave that off. You're going to need to have a description. For a lot of these things, I wouldn't worry too much about getting it perfect, because one of the nice features about publishing with Amazon is that you can do updates and make some changes. This is where you're going to want to make sure that you've got the authors in. In this case, you're going to want to include the names of the people that were working on it and what was their main role. I also want to add Cadence as an illustrator. She was responsible for most of the pictures, and considering that this is a picture book with or illustrated children's book, we should have an illustrator included. So these are the names that are going to appear under the title when you review it in Amazon. This book is going to be in English. The ISBN number. This is something that it's the unique identifier, like a barcode for a book. In most cases, I would think that you're going to want to skip this. If you're going to publish just with Amazon, it's not going to be necessary. It's usually required for other publishing companies, but for Amazon, I would just leave it. You want to get this book out and make this whole process as simple as possible. So for me, I'm just going to skip this step. I didn't do this for my last step because my main purpose is publishing with Amazon. So I'm just going to leave that off. Is this a public domain work, or is it not a public domain work and I hold the necessary publishing rights? Public domain work is where it's a book that's been created by someone else and the copyright expired, and a lot of people will republish the book, perhaps with a new cover, and try to sell it on Amazon. This is not what you're doing. What you're doing is you are creating an original work, and then you would own the publishing rights to it. Next, you're going to want to target your book to customers. And so this is where you would pick the categories where you think that it's going to fit best. And this is going to have an impact on how people are going to be able to find your book. So you can see there's a lot of different sections. You put it into fiction, and where you think that your book is going to fit best. There's a lot of different sections. I think one of the best things to do in this area is not to get too caught up in exactly where you think that this book is going to fit. There's a lot of parts of filling out this form where you might feel that you're going to get stuck. This book is about a butterfly finds a friend. So I think a good fit is butterfly, moths, and caterpillars. You're allowed to pick 2 categories. You can see there's quite a few. You don't have to pick all of your categories. You can just go with one. I think for right now, just for the sake of filling out the form, we just want to go with one, and then we can always add in a second category later on. What is this age range? So you're going to want to try have a good age range that is appropriate for the book that you're reading, the book that you're creating. So what's the target range? For me, I think that there's a lot of flexibility in this, and you're going to want to target it from the pictures and the text. I think that this could be something that you could be reading to a baby, or this is something that could be used as a first reader for a child who's learning how to read. My daughter that is working with me helping to create this book she's 5, so it's not without reason that someone that's 6 could actually be reading this book. You can have keywords that are going to help you identify the book in the search. You can have up to 7 keywords. You don't have to use them all up, but the more keywords that you find or put in here, the easier it's going to make your book to find. There are 2 choices here. You can make the book ready for release, or you can set a pre-order date. So if you want to set the date for that you're going to release this book and have the book available for pre-order for a specific period of time, you can do that. It makes the launch for your book more complicated because you need to think in terms of when you're actually going to make the book available. For simplicity's sake, I would say that you want to skip the pre-order. Another thing you need to keep in mind when you are going to do the pre-order is you have to have everything uploaded and complete for your book at least 10 days before your book launch. So it requires you to have everything in place before your launch. I'm sure that this is something that Amazon has implemented due to issues that they've run into the past with people saying they're going to create a book and not putting it out there. So to ensure that if people have actually paid for this book and pre-ordered it, that it's going to be available on time, you have to have it uploaded 10 days before. So I'm going to stick with I'm ready to release my book now, but I'm not actually going to be publishing this. I just want to save this. For me, I think it's useful to enable digital rights management. And what this does is, if you do not enable digital rights management, anybody that has purchased your book has a lot easier time sharing it without actually buying the original. And if you want to know what's happening with your book, where it's going, and how it's being shared, I would enable the digital rights management, but that's your preference. Just to save our current work, I'm going to save as draft. So we've got some of the information saved, and if we go back into bookshelf, which is the area where we have our current books, let's take a look, and we can see that the butterfly finds a friend is now been added, and it lists the first author as by Cadence Johnson. You can go back and work on this at a later date. You can continue with the setup, or you can go to the different features in here and edit those through this menu. I'm going to spend more time covering some of the additional elements in this area to help finish this off in another video.